Well, a very, very happy Monday here, and welcome to another episode of the TNC Sports Talk. My name is Justin. Today is August 25th of 2025. And on today's episode, we will recap the week in sports here in Cincinnati. As I got to say, if you are a fan of Cincinnati sports, you were well disappointed. We will also get you ready for what's to come here over the next few days.
Bluetooth disconnected.
As we continue with Major League Baseball, we get ready for the first game of the NFL coming up next week and much more. It is a fun time of the year because we get to now come on here and talk and give you our prediction of who we think is going to win the AFC and the NFC divisions, wild cards, championships, and so on. And so I was thinking about this over the weekend, and I kind of have had the dynamic to have a podcast at the beginning of the week and a podcast towards the end of the week. And so if I can get my math correct, that means I would have a podcast today, Thursday, next Monday, possibly Tuesday because it being Labor Day, and then next Thursday before NFL starts. So what I want to do here is kind of divide up our podcast over the next 2 weeks and give you my predictions on who I think will walk away with division titles, who has made improvements heading into the year, who is going to take steps back, who's going to possibly be contenders for a wild card opportunity, and so on in each division. So today, in this episode, I'm planning on giving you my thoughts and predictions about the AFC East and the NFC East. So we'll talk about the Bills, the Patriots, the Eagles, the Cowboys, so on. Next episode, I don't know which divisions I'm covering, but I'll figure that out here because that's only just a few days away. But before we get into any sports-related conversation, I want to give a big shout-out and thanks for all those who have supported the channel, especially through last week. I had 14 videos to put together and publish over a 7-day period. And that was an accumulation of 7 wrestling shows. That was Raw, that was NXT, SmackDown, Main Event. Then you had NXT Stand and Deliver, WrestleMania Night 1 and WrestleMania Night 2, all part of the WWE 2K Universe Mode series. We're in season number 2, and I thought it was a very well show. I will have each individual matches posted. I believe, if I'm stand corrected, NXT Stand and Deliver will be posted tomorrow. WrestleMania Night 1 will be posted Thursday. WrestleMania Night 2 will probably be posted some point on Saturday. That's my goal. But I want to thank everyone for the patience trying to get all that stuff done. I want to thank the wife and the kids at home who has allowed me to just get the content done. Although it feels, I don't have as much of a workload, a week like that last week bills a lot. And now trying to bounce back and continue moving forward can be a little bit of a challenge. So this week on our program, where we have Raw, which is, I have yet to play Raw at the time of this recording, but I am expected to have Raw tonight. I have baseball tomorrow. Under baseball, I have the Minnesota Twins and the Toronto Blue Jays. And then I have a Friday night, Saturday during the day, and Sunday night baseball. Arizona and the Dodgers on Friday. I have Milwaukee and Toronto on Saturday. And then I have the Angels in Houston on Sunday night baseball. So
Bluetooth
that is the
disconnected.
baseball schedule.
Bluetooth connected.
I have no football games yet to be prepared, but we'll talk about that in a moment. So 4 baseball games, 4 wrestling shows, 8, half the workload, but still trying to get that content done and published. Plus, on top of that, you have these podcasts that I, tried to take some time and put notes together. I got a couple pages here to review. So if you guys are watching that video the video part of our channel, thank you. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And feel free to leave comments, whether you like it, you don't like it. I want to know these things, maybe ways that I can improve of it.
Bluetooth disconnected.
And make it
Bluetooth
better.
connected.
If you have storylines, collaborations, I'm all for. So just reach out and I'll definitely be able to get back to you here. So that is what is going on the channel. Like I said, busy weeks behind us. Let's dive in let's talk about the Madden 26. So I just wrapped up preseason, and for those who are watching the preseason games, this is according to last year's preseason schedule.
Bluetooth disconnected.
Because the
Bluetooth
video
connected.
game doesn't get released until the middle of August, it doesn't give me enough time to be able to purchase, download, create content, and publish content according to the timeline. So I take the previous year's preseason and I go through games, simulated games, to publish. But that is all done. I have all that content done. I have all that information taken care of. I was able to move on from that. This past weekend, I was grateful to be able to purchase the
Bluetooth
Madden
disconnected.
26 football game.
Bluetooth connected.
And I was able to kind of this past weekend just to take some looks at how I can best work the series. And the one thing that Madden creators have not changed is the format of franchise mode. They have been able to make adjustments so you're more involved. And when it comes down to decision makings, you have the ability to follow the coach and whoever, if you want a specific coach, you can create your own coach, you can create a dynamic coach, or you can follow your own game plan. So that is also unique, and I'm trying to, over the next week or so, I'm working on getting comfortable with those settings. There is new features such as halftime report that actually gives you content with other games. I've yet to see that, but I hope to see that here as I begin a new franchise series with the Cincinnati Bengals that we will be following here on this channel. I like that they have a prime time. One of my biggest fears was that they actually added prime time game.
Bluetooth disconnected.
Prime time displays.
Bluetooth connected.
And commentary and a version. And one of my big fear was that was only available during franchise mode. Well, after looking through it, it is available on quick play. So you can get if you are trying to play a prime time Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night football game, you're capable of doing it on one of those days. So, because the things that have not changed is that you're not able under franchise to play any game scheduled other than the team that you selected. So as I was trying to figure out, all right,
Bluetooth
what am I going to do? How am I going to figure this out? The good news is that I'll play through the Bengals franchise series starting from the regular season. And I'll go through preseason real quick and I'll capture, some free agents. I'll try to put together just a little bit better squad than originated. But the concept is to go ahead and take care of that. So I'll be able to play the franchise series, and then I'm having a brain fart at this moment, but play the franchise series, and then get caught up, get regular season going, and start publishing stuff for next week. I'll put all the primetime games. So Thursday night, you'll have next Friday night game with the Chiefs and the Chargers, next Sunday night, and next Monday night. And then you'll also get the Bengals as they are over in Cleveland. And then when they have the Thursday morning games and in the different countries, we'll have those on display as well. And then when that's all done, we may slide in an extra game or two as the baseball season winds down. But I'm working on trying to get ahead of the baseball season too, because I'm sure people would want the entire playoff games, and that's a lot of games early on, especially in a series. So there's still a little bit more to figure out. But as far as football goes, I'm not worried about it. I'm actually excited. I'll have to do Thursday night, Sunday night, all the other games would have to be under quick play, go back into franchise, force that team home and away to win in the league, and then play the regular game according to the Bengals schedule. And then from there, I will be able to you'll see, if you're watching, you may see a couple score differences from what the original content was, because you can't force the score, you just can force the win. Anyways, it's complicated. Maybe I'll do an episode here in the next few days to kind of explain to all that, just for those who are watching along, because I don't want to confuse anyone. I want everyone to be on board. Anyways, I've wasted enough time. Let's get down right into sports. And like I said, if you were a Cincinnati fan this weekend, you were disappointed in the outcome of our professional teams. Let's just get right down to it. We're going to start off in the NFL with the Cincinnati Bengals. As I got to tell you, they had their last preseason game on Saturday. They're at home at Paycor Stadium. They took on the Indianapolis Colts, and they lost 41-14. Granted, there was no starters playing from either team on Saturday, but there's no excuses for the result that we saw on Saturday. It actually just annoyed me, irritated me a lot to see how we got our butts handed to us on a silver platter by the second and third strings from the Indianapolis Colts. It just proves to us where we are at defensively, because regardless if it's, whatever strings we put out there, like I said, Colts didn't play their starters either. Colts played second strings, third strings, fourth strings, and we gave up 41 points against the Indianapolis Colts. 41 points our defense gave up.
Bluetooth connected.
This wasn't a 13-14 game. 41 points. And it just goes to show what's our number one problem that we're dealing with this season. The fact that we have the worst defense in the NFL. And, you may say, hey, Justin, you're getting way too hyped for a preseason game with our... Yes, you know what? I am. Because if you don't know nothing about football, let me enlighten you a little bit. These second strings, third strings, they're playing.
Bluetooth connected.
Okay, you're not able to throw the same 11 guys out there in first string guys. You're not playing them 50, 70 snaps consecutively out there on the game. They are rotating in and out. And if plus you have injuries throughout the season. And if you think that this is bad, I can only, the pivotal point is that I can only imagine what our actual starters can do. And I want to be I want to be wrong about this. And I hope I'm wrong about this. But, 41
Bluetooth
points
disconnected.
is just
Bluetooth connected.
absurd. I understand maybe if it was against the Eagles, if it was against the Kansas City Chiefs, but this is in front of, if we're out there on the road in Denver or Seattle where, it is just does not work in our favor. I get that. But this is at home. It was nice outside Saturday. It wasn't too hot. The weather conditions were great. You had a great crowd at home, and you got annihilated by the Indianapolis Colts. You know what? Get it out of your way, because come Cleveland in 2 weeks, come the regular season, I hope that we are ready to play some football.
Bluetooth disconnected. Bluetooth connected.
This is around the time of year where I'm sitting here trying to maybe put my patience together with this team. How long do I have? How much resilience do I have within myself to give a fair opportunity to the Bengals throughout the year to say, you know what? All right, now we're going to start judging. This is where our team's at. Normally, I would say about 8 to 12 weeks. I would say, honestly, depending where they're at in 6 weeks to 8 weeks to even in by Thanksgiving, this is where I can start making my opinions. I can start making the statements and move on, whether we're success or we're not. But knowing how terrible our defense is, do you give the Bengals 6 to 8 weeks to show you what they're capable of? Especially their defense. And I think the bigger question that I ask myself is that, honestly, does a Trey Hendrickson make that much of an impact, whether you could get a deal done with him or not?
Bluetooth
that better our defense to not put up 41 points a game? I mean, and I'm Trey Hendrickson. If I'm Trey Hendrickson and I'm looking through his eyes and I see a performance like Saturday at home at Paycor Stadium, and I'm like, I want to get a deal done, I'm rethinking my options. As good as a defensive player Trey Hendrickson is, why would I want to play for a team that's not making everyone else better around them? Other than some draft picks, other than some rookie talents that you hope you could shape and grow and help yourself, win a division again. In all fairness, one guy in Trey Hendrickson, no matter how good he is not going to make or break a defense. He will improve a defense, but if I'm Trey Hendrickson, I got to ask myself, is it even worth it? When then I can go to a team that can benefit from my attributes, and I can help provide and support a team that's looking to win now. I'm not saying the Bengals ain't looking to win, but they've taken this approach of winning all wrong. And you know it, and we know it. And if you are refusing to see the elephant in the room and acknowledge the problem that we have,
disconnected. Bluetooth connected.
Then give me whatever you're smoking, because I don't know how plain day, black and white, I can present it to you. Our biggest issue is that we have ownership that puts a cap space on our financial budget that's not willing to budge, and they're a low budget team that's going to do whatever they want, just like the Reds. And this is why that you're not seeing a Bengals win a championship. So they went to the Super Bowl a few years ago. Let's be realistic with ourselves. To me, I call it a fluke. You had a bunch of young guys that no one knew, no one had scouting reports on in the pros. Got away with a lot of stuff, was younger, able to move. But usually a winning team takes a couple different pieces together. One, you have a 90-year-old ownership that wants to have a say in how his team runs, when he should just be letting his front office people handle these situations. Let's be honest, like I said, look in the mirror. Let's be honest with ourselves. I like Zach Taylor, but is he a Bill Belichick? No. Is he a Andy Reid? No.
Bluetooth
He's not even a Jim Harbaugh. He's not even a John Harbaugh. He's nothing. He's not a champ. He's not at that extra level of being a champion. The only thing that we have as a Cincinnati Bengal going our way is a 1-2 punch combination of Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. Throw in T. Higgins. Not Jermaine, but Burton. Burton is looking promisable, but he's not going to be a Jamar Chase. But that's all we have. We have a crappy defense, ranked number 32. And if there was I think they're ranked number 60 in my books, but that's just me. And like I said, I beg to differ to see if even if you could get a deal done with Trey Hendrickson, what does that honestly benefit us? Maybe an extra game, maybe 2 games in the season. But but let me give you a sneak preview of when we cover the AFC North sometime next week. I don't have the Bengals winning the division. And quite frankly, I don't have the Bengals finishing in second. They may be a contender in the wild card, sure, but they are not winning the division, and I wouldn't be surprised if they don't make it to the playoffs this year. With or without Trey Hendrickson, I think I am valid to where I stand at just because of what I've seen from their defense. Lord have mercy. How long do you have to have patience before you start throwing your hands up and say, let's call for a change? If I was Trey Hendrickson, I would honestly reconsider staying in Cincinnati for the next 3 to 5 years. I'd rather have, I am on the side of the player.
Bluetooth disconnected.
If you are trying to work out a deal with a team that's just missing that link that you can help support in 3 to 5 game victories, then by all means, I'm saying stay, just hold on, hold tight. But when you have a team like the Bengals who have not even done anything to better themselves since last season, how can you be supportive behind it? And if I was, and I'm a Trey Hendrickson fan, I would love to see Trey Hendrickson to carry in a Super Bowl ring. And I would love to see that, nothing more, but to see the Bengals give him that Super Bowl ring. But with how bad the Bengals defense is at the moment without Trey Hendrickson, whether it's the starters, second string, third string, I don't care. Adding a Trey Hendrickson only does so much. That rank 32 is only going to jump up maybe into the high 20s. And that's not enough to make a case for a playoff run. Maybe it makes a case for a wild card. Sure, but you're not winning a division. I don't think you're going to get far unless miracles happen. This is not the same team it was a few years ago. So it boils my skin how we could just watch this happen and say, oh, well, you know what? Preseason is over with. Let's, just get out the table and move on to game 1 of the NFL, because that's where it does matter. But I have to just digress with these statements, and argue that we're gonna be in for a shit show this season. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I am wrong. I'm not gonna go all out in Cincinnati Reds coverage here, but if we knew about this heading into this road trip. West Coast trip is not gonna be an easy one. We
Bluetooth
handled our
disconnect.
business against the Angels, which I thought was wonderful news. It was great momentum heading over to Arizona. I surely thought that we could at least take the series out of Arizona before this Dodger series we're about to get ourselves into. But we fell short, and the only positive thing is that we didn't get swept. We took at least a game. But the unfortunate news is that we head into Dodger Stadium tonight to face the Dodgers, and we're only 3-3 on our road trip. It's that saying that I say this all the time on the program.
Bluetooth
You got to be able to win games that are easily lined up to win, and Arizona is an easy team lined up to win. And they're well far back in the wild card. They're actually on the outside looking in, just behind the Reds, or 5.5 games back. And you would have thought that we could have maybe took at least 2 out of 3 and found ourselves maybe a half a game out of a wild card position. If the playoff starts today in major leagues, Milwaukee had the number 1 seed. Philadelphia has the numbers 2 out there in the East. The Dodgers have number 3 in the West. The Cubs has a comfortable 6.5 game lead as they swept the Angels in Anaheim this past weekend. The Padres took 2 out of 3 in Los Angeles, as those battles are for the division. They sit 4.5 games above in the wild card. The New York Mets, who, I didn't even take down New York Mets to what they did. New York Mets are right now still holding on. I think they took 2 or 3 over the weekend. On the other side, we're a game and a half back of the Mets. Arizona and St. Louis are 5.5 games back. And so, we still have definitely a handful of series left to be played. And so if you're, that's why I include St. Louis and Arizona, because it only takes a run for us to swap places with somebody. The Giants took 1 of 3 in Milwaukee. Rays took 2 of 3 against St. Louis. The Cubs are looking 3 games in San Francisco. Padres are out there in Seattle for 3 games. The Cardinals are facing 4 games against Pittsburgh, and then we're keeping tabs on that one because St. Louis is coming over to town over the weekend.
Bluetooth disconnected.
Milwaukee takes 4-game series against Arizona. So, yes, you know what? I want San Francisco to perform well. I want Arizona to play well. I want Pittsburgh to play well. I want Seattle to play well. That's all we're rooting for. If you're trying to follow the Reds by watching other teams, let's root for these other teams. We have 3 games against LA in LA. Remember last week I asked you guys the question of, if you got a chance to play a good team like the Dodgers on their home turf, do it throughout the weekday, throughout the weekend, which one would it be prefer? And to be honest, I am skeptic because, man, our 3-game series, we have Hunter Green on the mound tonight, Nick Lodolo tomorrow, or Nick Martinez tomorrow. Nick Lodolo is scheduled for Wednesday, pending his blister that he had a couple weeks ago. The Dodgers tonight will be sending out Emmett Sheehan, who's 4-2 with a 4.17 ERA. Clayton Kershaw tomorrow night, 8-2, 3.13 ERA, and then you have the lovely Shohei Ohtani on the mound, 0-1 with a 4.61. Now, none of that really matters. Clayton Kershaw's out the door. He's retiring. I think that would be a good match against Nick Martinez. Shohei Ohtani, he's coming back from that Tommy John surgery. He's just getting comfortable with the mound again. But those at bats, we need to shut them down quick. But look, I mean, like I said, it is just about winning the series you need to win. If the season ends in October and the Reds don't make it, it can't be because they didn't finish over 500 baseball. It can't be because they didn't win series that they couldn't win. Okay. They need to give it everything they got, because at the end of the day, if they don't make it in, they need to have something motivating for next season they can look forward to. It's not as adrenalating and frustrating as we are when we talk about the Bengals. I think there is definitely a higher expectation for the Bengals than there are the Reds. And we are seeing the Reds have some sort of success. They're hanging in there with these other teams like the Mets and the Padres this late into the season. And that's what we want to see. We want to see that progress being made.
Bluetooth disconnected.
I'm looking here over when the season ends, what am I looking for to take away? And I'm looking for simple things, development that we're seeing out of our players, stability. I want to see a better execution during the back end of the season, which so far they're handling themselves well. But a couple years ago, I keep reminding us, the year that the Cardinals, we had that wild card spot if we played 500 baseball the remainder of September.
Bluetooth disconnected.
St. Louis went on this miraculous run and swapped us places. And what we saw was fatigue, a team just that has not played much in September and October fall apart. And that was our ticket out of the postseason. So an objective here is to see if we're capable of playing Reds baseball throughout the entire season, a complete 182 games. And I think there has to be a lot of success.
Bluetooth
because I know people are going to judge Terry Francona and the Reds' decision when they brought him back if they don't finish off the year strong. We've seen coaches, we've seen managers. Bruce Bochy was one of them, comes back out of retirement, joins the Texas Rangers, and the first year he wins a World Series. And I'm like, oh my. Some positives coming out of this. Here's what to expect in the upcoming week. We have Tyler Stephen. We have 3 games against the Dodgers Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm backtracking here. Then we head home to face the Cardinals, 3 at home.
Bluetooth disconnect. Bluetooth
but
connected.
Some good things here. Tyler Stevenson's being fitted for a thumb guard. Nick Lodolo threw 3 simulated innings the other day. So when I look at this series, I like the Hunter Green matchup. I think he's going to really have to beat them defensively. And our offense has got to swing the bats. I saw a lot of players this weekend get some rest. I called it a resting weekend against the Diamondbacks. And look, it prevailed. We lost the series. Now we need to bounce back and say, hey, balls to the walls for the Dodgers. Take a day off, come back home.
Disconnected.
Balls to the walls against the Cardinals, Toronto, moving forward. Look, I was doing some homework last night, and this is what I got away with it. The Padres, the Cubs, the Dodgers they have the top 3 easiest schedules remaining in the National League. The Padres right now, their eyes are on taking the NL West. And they want to knock the Dodgers off and have them be in a wild card. Home field advantage for the Padres is essential. The Cubs trying to do the same thing. I know there's a
Bluetooth
6-game gap
disconnected.
between the Cubs and Milwaukee,
Bluetooth
but if the
connected.
Cubs can, we want to win. They want to win the division. Okay. So those two teams, top of the wild card, they're focusing on the division. They're not focused in on the wild card. Okay. It looks like it's coming down to the Mets and the Reds here, as they're just a few games apart. The Mets have the fourth hardest schedule in the National League remaining of this season. They're going to be facing teams like Atlanta and Miami. That although they don't have a season to remember. They're not performing bad right now, so there are challenges. They got to
Bluetooth
take on
disconnected.
Cincinnati, Detroit, and
Bluetooth
7
connected.
games. It's going to be against the first place Philadelphia Phillies. Now, some statistics I pulled away. Starting pitching in the second half of the season is averaging about 5.0 ERA just in the second half alone. In the month of August is 5.78, which is not well. Frankie Montas is not performing the way that the Mets want him to perform. Griffin Canning and Tyler McGill is banged up. They're both on the IL. And I think the biggest fear out of the Mets is watching Juan Soto, Pete Alonso, or even Francisco Lindor go on a little slump because they're all capable of doing it. Cincinnati has the second hardest schedule remaining. You got the Dodgers, Padres, Milwaukee, Chicago, the Mets, and even Toronto that comes over Labor Day week. They average about 4.1 runs a game, which is tied for 21st in Major League Baseball. They're only batting 251 at a 20 ranked 22 in the OPS category. Now, the biggest circle on that agenda is the Mets and the Reds, which we will see in, I think, in about 2 weeks, I believe. Not this weekend, next weekend at home. It's at Great American Ballpark. You talk about a playoff atmosphere series. This is the biggest one. The bottom line is that there are people out there comfortable with that the Mets can maintain. If they maintain 500 baseball, then they should make it in. The problem we're looking into is that out of the teams that we have to face, out of the Reds, out of the rest of the schedule, the Dodgers, the Padres, Milwaukee, Chicago, Toronto, they're all some sort of way in the postseason by a wild card or division. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams, 6 series that we're going to have to really grind out. And, sure, we get the Dodgers here now. I know St. Louis is not an easy series to tackle on. Then you have Toronto, then the Mets. So the Reds have their work cut out for them. But this is where I go back and I talk about is how good is this Reds team? Because at the end of the day, if you want to be considered as these elite 8 teams in the playoffs, you want to be matched up against the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Dodgers and the Padres of the world. You have to be able to go into the Dodgers, the Cardinals, Toronto, and the Mets coming up here without ease, without an issue. It should just be another day at the office, no sweat, no extra challenges. Fans shouldn't, let the fans worry, sure, but it should be a fun series. And so this is a true test to where the Reds are going to be at. And over the next 2 weeks, filling in the rest of the Reds schedule, we could possibly see if the Reds are in or they're out. And seeing Cincinnati and New York in September could make a huge difference on who's taking that final spot in the wild card. I'm hopeful. I believe, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Right, man. It wasn't a good weekend in sports for Cincinnati. I hope things turn around. We have the Cincinnati Bearcats playing on Thursday in Kansas City, opener, I believe. for college football. I'm excited. I'm thrilled. Um, but we have our work cut out for us here in the month of September. Um, so I can't wait to see what happens. All right. Before I get into my predictions real quick, I don't normally watch a lot of AEW, but they had a pay-per-view over the
Bluetooth
weekend.
disconnected.
We saw
Bluetooth connected.
for the first time Adam Copeland, aka Edge, team up with Christian. I think they were in Toronto, right? Or something like that. And you know, it just kind of pondered over me the excitement that, you know, being a wrestling fan, and not just that, but the sport and the adaptation of how the sports has developed. I don't think, what's great about a company like WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling,
Bluetooth disconnected.
Ring of Honor, New Japan, AAA, all those GCW, whatever is out there, is that wrestling fits everywhere.
Bluetooth connected.
And I know a lot of people talk about how the WWE is the professional sport of wrestling, where how if you had a minor league system, AAA, Impact, yada yada yada. Well, in I've looked at it, is that you see Major League Baseball succeed, and they already have their minor league system. And so if the WWE was Major League Baseball, their minor league system would be NXT, AAA, and then I would have Impact Wrestling and AAA Lucha Libre Wrestling
Bluetooth
down there in
disconnected.
AA and
Bluetooth
Single A
connected.
baseball. AEW, in my eyes, is going to be a resemblance of maybe banana baseball. Rules are different, still the same concept, but they do a little bit more. NFL doesn't really have a minor league system. They got college, right? So you have WWE and maybe the NFL, right? And then AEW is maybe that UFL. And just in a different sports perspective. But just because, you're not in the
Bluetooth
WWE,
disconnected.
doesn't mean one,
Disconnected.
Edge has had a great career in the WWE. He's having he's enjoying, I watch him enjoy himself in the ring, in AEW. And I can only support it. I can only support it because, listen, if he's still capable of wrestling, let him have it. I think WWE plays a little more on the cautious side of things. Oopsies. They play a little bit more on the cautious side of things. And then what I mean by that is that Edge gets hurt and you're like, okay, well, let's kind of build him back in. So you start building him back in and you start putting him in these storylines. Oops, he gets hurt again. I mean, I'm watching this through Rey Mysterio. I want Rey Mysterio to be in the top of the game. I want AJ Styles to be in the top of the game. Look, reality is that they're at the age or at the point of their career where, sacrificing their bodies is slowly catching up with them. And so, that was a fear that I think, you had with Edge in the WWE, was that by the time you built somebody like him up to be in the main roster, an injury would occur that you would have to take him away. And so, you had to be cautious about this. And it may have prevented him from excelling and doing what he wanted to do. Ultimately, though, and this is why AEW is out there, you can go take those risks at that level, and if it sinks or swims, you could reap the reward that's provided. But just because you're not in the WWE doesn't mean you're not a great athlete. AJ Styles made his name in TNA. Kenny Omega, I think, is well more known with his success in TNA. You know, let's
Bluetooth
be
disconnected.
real.
Bluetooth
Matt
connected.
Cardona, aka Zack Ryder, wouldn't have never gotten this successful in the WWE if he stuck with the WWE, going out there and exposing himself with different promotions as Matt Cardona, building himself on the indies. I think has brought him back, and doing that name change. And so, I encourage, I motivate, I inspire for those. If it doesn't work out, Karrion Kross is right now on that indies. Let him tell his story out there. If it works, it works. So I am thrilled. I'm happy to see
Bluetooth disconnected.
Edge have
Bluetooth
success.
connected.
That's my little wrestling take. Not a whole much going on right now as they get ready for Clash in Paris, I believe, next weekend. So, all right. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. There's not a whole lot to be said about the divisions. I'll give you my predictions, working from the bottom of the division, working our way up to who's going to win the division here. And maybe just a brief little statement. Let's start off with the AFC East here. I got the New York Jets predicted to come in at the very bottom of the AF East. I feel like the Jets are just throwing a product out there on the field after Aaron Rodgers kind
Bluetooth
of
disconnected.
blew up in their face.
Bluetooth connected.
And they're kind of it's going to probably take a couple of years. I feel like the AFC East is kind of already re-imaging themselves. But I think the Jets got the short end of the stick with the failure of the Aaron Rodgers deal. And they're kind of paying that sacrifice. I got the Dolphins coming up, place number 3 in the division. They're kind of on the outside of that wild card looking in. I don't see much of an improvement from this team yet. We still have similar guys. And it's not saying they can't get the job done, but
Bluetooth connected.
They don't have an easy schedule either. I'm actually looking. I actually wrote down the schedule. I think they'll be an average 500 team. I think they'll be contending for a wild card spot. I wouldn't be surprised if they did possibly get in as a wild card opportunity, but they have some tough opponents down here early on. New England's going to be a true test. I feel like the Patriots are that team that you look for improvements. They're finally kind of drifting away from the Belichick saga. And moving on with different coaches and different establishments. So with that, I see them maybe now being able to move forward a little bit and having themselves a better record. But early on, the Dolphins, they come home to New England in week 2. Then they got to go out and they take on Buffalo. Weather's going to be pretty nice in their favor probably early on as they take on the Jets. So I do see them maybe walking away maybe 2-2, 1-3 at best. I don't see them beating Buffalo this season. Carolina's a good one to capitalize on. They're at home against the Chargers, so that'll be a fun game to for the Dolphins to pick up a victory on.
Bluetooth disconnected.
I see Baltimore, Buffalo,
Bluetooth
Washington
connected.
before their bye, all at home, but they're gonna have 5 weeks at home. I think that'll be an advantage, but I just don't know if they can get through all 4 teams. They're on the road twice, back to back with New York and Pittsburgh. Takes on Cincinnati, Tampa Bay, and finishes off at New England. Like I said, it's not a terrible tough division. I just think they have a couple of tough opponents spread it out throughout the season. The Jets looked at their schedule here briefly, taking on the Steelers, Buffalo, Tampa Bay right off the bat. Really just at a tough loss. You got Dallas, Denver. That's 6 weeks of just constant go. 2 of those 4 games are going to be against your division before you kind of set back on Carolina, Cincinnati. Maybe Cleveland. Then you pick back up with New England, Baltimore, Atlanta, Miami. There's just really no comfort place for the Jets to go. I have ranked number coming in at a second, possibly a wild card position, is the New England Patriots. Like I said, they're moving on, and I think they have a lot of fair matchups that's nicely spreaded throughout the course of the season. The big one, the big last couple weeks will be in December when they had to look out for Buffalo and Baltimore. But that's going to be as that's coming after a bye, so they'll have some time to regroup from there. And coming in at number 1, I have the Buffalo Bills. They're just most consistent, most well put together out of all 4 groups, and I think I'm intrigued to see them win another division. My concern is with the Buffalo Bills that they have not changed status quo of being up there along with the teams like the Chiefs and like the Chiefs, like the Eagles. But can they get over that hump? They come close, but they miss so far. And I think the Bengals should probably look at a team like Buffalo. They don't have unlimited pockets, but I do tell you they do have a passion to maintain the reputation defensively and offensively, and that's why it's worked so many times. So I have Bills winning the division, the Patriots possibly fighting, in the wild card. Miami could be contending for a wild card opportunity, finishing off with the Jets in the AFC East. In the NFC East, I have finishing last the New York Giants. And I just think that, their story, they're at Washington and at Dallas, at Kansas, home to Kansas City, taking on the Chargers. Their first month is gruesome, if you ask me. You got to go over to Denver early. You got Philadelphia, go over to Denver, and then at Philadelphia in 3 weeks, and basically in a month later. I just don't see any way they're surviving. Yes, they have Russell Wilson. I honestly believe that this deal between Russell Wilson and the Giants is simple. Listen, the Giants want to just, they want to showcase that they put their best foot forward, that they want to, that they're invested into a solid quarterback, until we see what Russell Wilson does. And we really don't know, but the Giants want to just pursue saying that they're making progress, at least until that next big thing hits that table. And Russell Wilson wants to be in the spotlight. I think both, sides of the table are milking every last inch of each other to get what they want. Wilson wants to play football. Giants need a quarterback. They need to have a chance maybe to win a few games, and there you go. Coming in at number 3 is going to be, the Dallas Cowboys. There's just a lot of conditions right now. Philadelphia, Giants, Chicago. Not a terrible schedule I was looking at. They could be a contender team. I wouldn't even be surprised if they moved up in that number 2 at some point this year, but a lot of that drama needs to kind of go away. They just need to focus playing football. Washington Commanders coming at number 2. They're kind of the team in the AFC East that has so much to gain with how they perform this year, but they have nothing to lose.
Bluetooth connected.
No one, I don't think many are expecting them to win a division. I don't think a lot of people are even expecting them to win a wild card spot in the postseason this year, but that only benefits them and their squad moving forward. But if they don't, hey, it's no harm, no foul. Looking at their roster or their schedule, I mean, I see at least an easy 8-9 wins. I think they need, or they should come in and make a statement of where, hey, if we're going to be taken seriously. Finishing off at number 1, winning the division, I have the Eagles. Possible repeat team in the NFC. One of my favorite teams right now going in. I look at the division and I just don't see anyone else really challenging them other than maybe the Lions They're up there in the north. Um, I mean, I know it's anything goes, but I just have them favored to win. I think the West is still kind of dealing with some complications we'll get to at some point, probably later this week, to be honest. But I have the Eagles winning the division, the Washington Commanders making a wild card spot, possibly even the Dallas Cowboys with the Giants at the bottom of the
Bluetooth
division.
disconnected.
So
Bluetooth
that is
connected.
my East, AFC East and NFC East division predictions of who I think is going to win. Coming up later this week, I'll go ahead and just say it. The AFC NFC West we'll go ahead and predict in our next episode. But it's going to be a fun week in sports. You have 3 games against the Giants, and I think you have to be excited about the way they're heading into this final series. Like I said, if the Reds want to be considered as a team that can challenge for a
Bluetooth
postseason,
disconnected.
performing performing as good as the Dodgers, the Giants, the Dodgers,
Bluetooth
Padres,
connected.
Cubs is essential. And if you want to be, and so it's going to tell a lot over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Cincinnati, look, preseason is behind us. I think it's an opportunity to let's take care of what we need to take care of, figure out if we're going to deal Trey Hendrickson, and if not, let's get him to a contract. Let's get him back in pads. Let's get him on that practice field. Let's get ready for Cleveland. Make sure everyone's healthy. The weather is nice outside over the next 2 weeks. Let's take advantage of that. And I think there is a lot of importance of starting off this season the right way with a win
Bluetooth
in
disconnected.
Cleveland
Bluetooth
against your
connected.
division. Come home, take care of the Jaguars, and get off to an early 2-0 start. But you got to clear up some office, complications first before we could get into that. Like I said, be sure to stay tuned and look out for what is next on our channel. We have Raw coming up later tonight, as well as NXT on Wednesday. We have SmackDown on Friday, main event on Saturday. We have upcoming PLE is Backlash, which is in 2 weeks. And then we have baseball, as tomorrow night will be the Minnesota Twins and the Toronto Blue Jays, followed by 3 games this weekend. Baseball will back down starting next week as we head into the NFL
Bluetooth
season.
disconnected.
All right, that is all the time I have for you.
Connected.
Please don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Until next time, thank you guys for tuning in to the TNC Sports Talk. My name is Justin, and I will see you guys later. Have a great rest of you. Have a great week.